Shavua Tov, Gute Woch. I want to tell story number 86 of the Shivchei of Shem Tov, this earliest known printed compilation of Baal Shem Tov stories. And the title of the story is Nesia Lepidyon Shvuim, the trip, the travel, the journey for the purpose of Pidyon Shvuim, redemption of the captives. I should explain that back then, 250, 300 years ago, the local nobility often would hold Jews captive, put them in the dungeon for lack of payment of their property rentals. And as Jews were often poor and not able to fulfill these payments, it quite often happened that they end up being shvuim, captive. There is a mitzvah in the Torah to redeem the captives, and therefore people in the Jewish community, particularly the Hasidim, would go and help collect funds and then pay for the unpaid debt so these Jews could come free. Says this, the author of the Shivchei of Shem Tov, I heard from Rav Shmuel HaKatzin, who told this story to Rav Gedalia of Linitz, the Rav of the community where the author lived, that him, Rav Shmuel HaKatzin, and Rav Ber Ben Bunim went to collect funds for Pidyon Shvuim, the redemption of the captives, before Rosh Hashanah. And then they came to the great Maggid, Rabbi Maggid of Mesrich, the continuator, the next Rabbi after the Baal Shem Tov. The Maggid wanted them to stay over until Rosh Hashanah, wanted to delay their going to do their trip until they stay Rosh Hashanah with him. But they did not want to, as they said, we must finish collecting the money and redeem these captives for the purpose of Rosh Hashanah. We want these Jews to be free for Rosh Hashanah. Abba leinu letova. They say Rosh Hashanah, Abba leinu letova, meaning Rosh Hashanah is coming to us for good, for a good blessing. And they went on their way, continue collecting the funds and doing their activity. Then they came to Rab Pinchas of Koritz, who was one of the Talmidim, one of the disciples of the Baal Shem Tov, who was one of the great sages among the early Hasidim. He also wanted to delay them, and they also refused for the reasons already mentioned. So he said, Rab Pinchas said to Rab Shmuel HaKatzin, go to your home and do the Pidyon Shvuim, and let Rab Ber stay here for Rosh Hashanah. Rab Shmuel didn't want to depart from Rab Ber, so Rab Pinchas said, Rab Ber should stay here. He does not have children. He was married, but they didn't have children, and wanted him to stay to get the bracha, the blessing, so that after Rosh Hashanah it should be determined that he would have a child that year. Rab Shmuel said, I also need that. Okay, so you will come after Shmini Atzeres. You come by Shmini Atzeres, rather, by the last of the holidays of Tishrei of that month, right? Shmini Atzeres, Abba leinu letova. Again, that is coming to us for good. So, since at least one of them has to go and do the redemption of the captives, let one come now for Rosh Hashanah, the other one will go, do everything, and come back at the end of Tishrei, at the end of the Tishrei holiday season for Shemini Atzeres, and come and pray here. So Reb Ber stay for Rosh Hashanah by Reb Pinchas of Koritz, and before Rosh Hashanah, this Reb Ber fell ill, and he was not able to attend synagogue to pray. So Reb Pinchas came to his house with a minyan and a Sefer Torah, and did the Torah reading for Rosh Hashanah in the house where this sick person was staying. I guess it was in his house, in the house of Pinchas. So they dressed Ber up and they brought him to the Sefer Torah. And after the second bracha, meaning after the reading, he says the bracha after, he started recovering his health. That very same year, he had a daughter. His wife gave birth to a daughter that eventually, many years later, would become the daughter-in-law of Rab Pinchas. the baby that would be born from that blessing for staying there for Rosh Hashanah would become the wife of Reb Pinchas, who is given the bracha, son. He had a son, he had a daughter, eventually they will get married. And Rav Shmuel came for Shmini Atzeres, and he too that year had a baby daughter. They both got their blessings, and the blessings materialized. All right, this is a story of the next generation, the Talmidim of the Baal Shem Tov. We are going to go back by next week, Emirat Hashem, with a story of the early days of the Baal Shem Tov. Shavua Tov, Agut Tevoch. Please give a like, share, watch the Baal Shem Tov stories, and contribute for the channel and for my efforts to translate all the stories. Yes, they have been translated into English, but not into Spanish. So I'm working week after week on translating the entire book with the hopes to edit and publish it entirely in Spanish. Shavua Tov, Agut Tevoch.